morning. Great. So I'm glad to be with you today. It's 7:15 in the morning, so it's early for us. I know that it's not morning for everybody, so I'm hoping that everybody who's able to join us is in a good time zone for them. I want to give you an overview for the project as a whole, just because I think I probably have more slides than we can go through in the webinar, and I created some that are fairly content heavy so that we can they can be available on the web. Very basically, Samantha's right. We are just about the only museum, and we're really, really excited to be the only museum, to be a museum in this project. One of our deep commitments at the museum is to affect the ways in which STEM education gets done through collaborations between schools and informal learning environments such as museums. So it's a real privilege for us to be able to explore this principle and to start meeting this goal in the way that we have. Get Invested is a program that we actually piloted very quickly with some high school classes earlier this year. And with the initiation of the grant, we've been able to develop this program into a semester-long program for high school students. The students participate for a little more than a semester at this point, 3 to 4 months, maybe a little more. The teachers, however, have been collaborating with us on every level of program implementation and creation. They will also collaborate with us through the end of the school year with assessment. So the way that it's working is that we have two groups of high school students. One is coming from Mexico, one is coming from San Jose, California. And the students are working in teams to develop technology-based proposed solutions to real-world problems that the teams are identifying, things that are really meaningful for them. And you'll see a sample of this as we move on. And they're trying to, so there are aspects of innovation, of problem solving and creativity, and as well of an aspect of entrepreneurial thinking. We're asking them not only just to fantasize about innovative ideas, but actually to take this into the real world a bit, because they're going to have to propose these ideas to venture capitalists from Silicon Valley. So we're very privileged to be able to have the resources that we have here, such as venture capitalists. Let me show you a little bit about the museum and then see how much depth I can go into with this project. So there we go. So this is a shot of the museum. We're located in Mountain View, California, which is about 40 miles south of San Francisco, deep in the heart of Silicon Valley. Our mission is to preserve and present for posterity the artifacts and stories of the information age. On January 10th of this year, we opened a 26,000 square foot exhibition that we call Revolution, the first 2,000 years of computing. And in it, you can see it's a lively exhibition. There's a lot of material, there's a lot of information, a lot of things to do. We truly do cover 2,000 years of content, from ancient computing artifacts from ancient China and Greece all the way through what you're seeing right now is personal computing and mobile computing, and then through the internet and the World Wide Web. With the launch of the exhibition came a new website. You can access that at computerhistory.org. Sorry, my slides aren't going. And the launch of a comprehensive education program. In all of our education, I won't go through this in too much depth, but we take a narrative approach to the study and the exploration of history. And what that means is that we're really encouraging people through interactive and inquiry-based, project-based learning types of approaches to consider big questions. We don't present history as a series of isolated facts or chronology. We're really interested in the impact that technological innovations have had on our lives, past, present, and future. We want people to make personal connections with our content. And these kinds of principles really underlie all the teaching that we do very, very centrally to Get Invested and everything else that we do in the museum. So this is our first group of students. These are our CCOC students from San Jose. CCOC is Central County Occupation Center. These are students who are mostly low income, all at risk for academic failure. This is a vocational program that focuses on technology, and these are students, some of whom still attend high school part day and some of whom do not, but they are all being trained for with job skills. They are not necessarily planning to go into college. We're also working with a group virtually in Mexico. We're working with 2 groups of students out of 5 campuses that are overseen by the University of Monterrey. And these campuses, their focuses range from vocational education to academic and college prep. One of the things, you can't read it that well, but one of the things that I wanted to point out is that the students were admitted to the program by application. And this was a choice of their teachers. One of the great things that we've found is that the teachers have adapted the program to ways that, into structures that match the ways that their students learn and the limitations and the challenges of their particular campuses. And so one of the things that they did, as I said, was to make these application-based participation. You'll see that some of the responses to the questions to the students students were asked questions about why they wanted to participate. So some of the questions came through on Edmodo. And for those of you who don't know about Edmodo, I would be happy to tell you more. It's a social networking site for education, and it has proved to be a tremendous tool for us for creating a sense of community across time and country, as well as for allowing us to post assignments, to have students respond, to create polls. It's been really, really wonderful. So I highly advise people to look into that as a teaching tool for them. Very, very basically, again, our program is based on 21st century skills, on placing history and technology into a broader context, and again, as I mentioned before, incorporating aspects of entrepreneurial thinking into the program. The curriculum is falling out, really. It wasn't necessarily intended, but the way that it's falling out is that there are 3 phases. In our first phase, we focused on the concepts of innovation. We asked students to reflect on what innovation meant to them, innovators that were meaningful to them, how they saw themselves as creators and innovators and problem solvers. And we ended this unit with a wonderful day-long workshop that was led by Rich Hilleman, who is Chief Creative Officer of Electronic Arts in Redwood City, which is near here. They produce video games. And he actually sort of led students in a microcosm of the whole Get Invested program. He had teams of students, again, who were challenged to propose innovations to a problem that he's really working on at EA. We Skyped live to Mexico, and we filmed the event live in our galleries. You will be able to see that on the web. We're currently in post-production for that. It was an extremely meaningful project and program for the teachers and students alike, which was wonderful and actually quite surprising to us about how deeply meaningful it really was for them to participate in this. We are currently in phase 2, which we're calling research and inquiry, and for this phase, we're asking the students to dive deeply into the content of our museum. So we're a history museum, and we're asking them to start thinking about how the problems that they've identified and the proposals that they're going to make for solutions to those problems are informed by history. That's why it's important for our content to be a part of this project. We really thought very deeply about that. Quite frankly, I think that we need to think more about how to integrate history into the curriculum, but that is a central piece of the projects that the students are being asked to do. They will present formal presentations. The teams will present for each other in what we're calling their semifinals, and the teachers and their peers will evaluate these presentations and choose one from each site, one from San Jose, one from Mexico, that the schools then will bring live. The students from Mexico are actually going to visit the museum in March, and we'll have a final celebration and event during which they will formally pitch one presentation, one proposal from each school to venture capitalists, as I mentioned, and they will get feedback on such elements as marketability, fundability, budgeting, things that kids don't necessarily normally have to consider. So we're really looking forward to that. Again, this is one of my very content-based slides, but I wanted to just include it. When you go back to read it, this will just demonstrate how deeply meaningful these projects are, these problems are that the kids are starting to work on. They're really trying to think about how they now even, but certainly after graduation, might be able to affect positive change on their communities and on the world at large. We're also getting feedback from the teachers saying that not only are the students learning a lot and learning in different ways than they normally do, but that's true for the teachers as well. And as I mentioned, this is really important to us. Affecting change in the nature of collaborations between museums and schools in order to make contributions to STEM education is truly something that we want to have, that we want to be able to do. And hearing from the teachers in this informal way that they're starting to teach differently and think differently about learning opportunities for their students is tremendous for us. We're still very new. We got this grant in June. We started planning in July. There's still a lot of questions. Among the questions, I wanted to point out two that are similar to what Mano pointed out. One is that teachers and students actually are both asking for more clear feedback about their progress and about whether they're succeeding and meeting their goals. So we also need to create some good assessment rubrics that will help people measure their own progress, and also, I guess, quite frankly, help us measure their progress as well. We're also finding that, again, similar to Mano, that the under-resourced school that we're working with in San Jose is having some challenges implementing the program, partly due to the fact that they don't have the resources. The teacher doesn't have as much time to prepare. The time that they have to devote to the project is quite limited. And the students, quite frankly, do not have a lot of academic skills. So this is a great opportunity for us to learn how to develop tools that can be flexed and bent and changed so that they can be used by lots of different types of educational environments, lots of different types of schools. As I mentioned, we've created a structure that the teachers are able to adapt to the needs of their classes. I think that we have a lot more to learn in that area as well, and so I'm really looking forward to that. Unfortunately, my slide cut off a word at the very bottom. The logo is cutting off the word sustainability. So we're looking for a program that is sustainable and scalable beyond these two groups and beyond this one grant term as well. So these are our kids at the end of the day of Talking to the Future. With Rich, they're all showing their games. He brought a bunch of games as prizes for their participation, which was great. The Catalyst initiative so far in the short time that we've been presenting has proved to be a catalyst for us, as well as the teachers and students in a lot of different ways. We're finding that we're being nudged into distance learning and digital learning in ways that are really changing the nature of our concepts of what we can do globally and at a distance from the museum to effect STEM learning. We're also finding that we're, as I said, starting to learn how to work with different populations of students in ways that we didn't necessarily think that we would have the capacity to work with them. And we're really starting to think that we're going to have a lot more potential to affect not only the knowledge and the skills of students who participate, but also their attitudes about themselves as learners and their potential to, as I said, create positive change in their community, to think deeply about how technology affects themselves and affects the world. And that is something that's very, very important to us. So just in the short time that we've participated, we've started to sort of get a little bit of a toe in the water to see what our capacity is for making these changes. And we're really looking forward to sharing more with you as the program continues. So thank you very much for letting me share this with you today.